Bing bong. Oh, it's Postman Fro at the door, Steven. Oh, he's got a package for me. Oh, what is it? Oh, who could it be? Could it be an R5 Mark II? Yay.
Steven, it's always nice when Postman Fro comes to the Fro factory with a package for you.
What did he have today?
Well, today there were 2 bodies in there.
Ooh.
I didn't order them. They're not brides, rent-a-brides or mail-order brides. They're R5 Mark II and an R6 Mark II we got back. We've been waiting to get an R6 Mark II back because there's tests we want to do against the Z6 III and stuff. But the big news is that the R5 Mark II has landed on our doorstep unexpectedly, and this is a production unit, and it's time to go to town on it.
No R1 yet, right?
No, I think R1 it's gonna be a little longer.
Yeah.
A couple months. I don't think we'll get those until November, until I'm probably about to go back to Kenya.
Wow.
But that's, you want to talk about a place to review a camera. Well, we'll talk about a place to review a camera is gonna be that.
Yeah.
I being that this just landed in the mail, I went looking for what could I go photograph this weekend. And tomorrow there's a Union 2 game. That's soccer. Now, for those that don't know, there's Union 1 is the main team, and Union 2 are the backups that still play in the same stadium, but it's empty. No one goes to watch that.
As long as you have fast-moving subjects, that's all I care about.
Oh, shit. How hot's it supposed to be tomorrow?
Probably hot and humid, I'm sure.
Oh, shit. Let me look. Tomorrow, oh, shit. 94 degrees. 3 o'clock.
Feels like 110.
Oh, yeah. What is
Dew
the
point
feels
of
like
78.
tomorrow? Feels like. Good news, Steven. The feels like is basically the same as the temperature tomorrow.
So it's probably low humidity. That's good.
Oh, God. Oh, well, what's humidity? Oh, yeah. It's actually pretty low humidity. It's like 55%.
Yeah, that's great.
Except dew point 74%. Not that I know what any of that actually means.
74 degrees.
Oh, so that's not terrible, right?
If it was 74 degrees out with a dew point of 74, then it would be terrible. But since it's such a high temperature, it should feel rather dry. It's still hot, yeah.
Still hot in the 94 degrees. But my goal is to just start using this camera and get raw files for a raw file review in different situations. This is a production camera.
Can you bring an R5 as well and just take maybe a couple side-by-side pictures if possible?
I mean, technically, yes. Good idea, Steven. Make a note. Can you make a note of things that I need to bring? I don't want to write it down.
I'm writing it down on my invisible
Don't make pretend you're writing
notepad.
it on your hand.
Every time you tell me to make a note, like when we're in studio, I'm like, okay.
Oh, fine. R5.
It's locked in the memory.
Not for me. R5 2. Am I going to use the EVF recorder for the some of it?
1000%.
For some of it. Not all of it. Some of it.
Majority of it.
But not for the R5 original. We don't need to. Well, actually, to show the difference.
See, but it's hard because it's not controllable movements. You're not doing the same repeatable
repetitive.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little hard. I'd rather reserve that for a side-by-side test of you running at the camera or something like that, where I can actually lock off both cameras at the same time. But then again, if you could try,
I'll try.
I'm curious how, just from a sensor standpoint, how the R5 holds up against the new R5 Mark II, just because the new one is now a BSI sensor as well as a stacked sensor, which usually hits a little bit on DR, but then the BSI side of it should help. So it's like, is it going to be worse, better, the same?
We'll see. I look forward to shooting it at 30 frames per second with pre-shooting on of 15 frames. We'll see how it works out. So I'm looking forward to that, and obviously there's other things you can use this camera for, the portraits and all of that.
Are you going to put on the action priority mode since it's a ball sport, soccer?
100%. 100%. I'll do some balls on
and then you should
and
manually
balls off.
try and do the R5 and just see if you can beat the system.
Well, we'll see how it works. I mean, from what I experienced with the basketball, it was incredible. So we'll do the same thing here. If it's that incredible for soccer, we'll see how it does. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the next thing. So there's a lot to talk about this week. Last week we had the interview with Evan Vucci, and that was a special edition, and I thought that was fantastic. And I get a lot of people coming up to me, even when I photographed a political event the other day, like, that was amazing. Like, that was a great interview.
It was.
So we've got. I want to talk. I'm just gonna let me start off with the political thing, and being that it's not political, but it is political because I photographed a campaign rally.
A politician,
but yes. It's a politician, so it's political in that nature. But from the standpoint of a photojournalist, with all of the talk about what it's like to photograph in a pit, a buffer, and what Evan Vucci did, it's going to be good to take people inside of the buffer to show them. And that's why I put a 360 camera on top of the 2 cameras that I was using when I was photographing the event. And that was with Gretchen Whitmer and Josh Shapiro. It was in PA. But when we show it, I'm going to cut the audio for the most part. I don't want campaign speech. I don't want any of that going out over the YouTubes, because it's not about the campaign speaking. It's not about those. It's about photography. And I will break down that shoot, or maybe Tuesday when then Harris is supposed to announce her VP pick in Philadelphia. I am waiting to see if I get a credential to go photograph that, which I assume will be much more difficult to get full access to.
I didn't realize you were filming 360 video for the entire thing and planned on doing a video about it.
Well, you watched the footage.
You take 360 footage of every project you shoot pretty much. We don't ever really do anything with it.
Well, this time I put it in the hot shoe.
We've done that before.
I did at the baseball game, and I thought it was the best thing to do. And I was running 2 cameras. And so what happens is when I would switch cameras, I would switch the hot shoe. I switched the 360, if I could, to the other hot shoe so that I could continue the process of recording. Because you definitely caught some, I definitely caught some interesting things that you get behind the scenes when you have a 360 rolling at all times.
I looked at the clips quickly, and I just think it just seemed like pure chaos in terms of like the actual event, the event staff.
Yeah.
Very unorganized.
That does happen with staffers. Yeah. Staffers are volunteers, or sometimes they're paid staffers. Actually, I don't think they're volunteers. I think everybody gets paid at least $15+ an hour, at least, if not more, for these types of things. But I already posted the one picture on Instagram where Shapiro came out of nowhere over to shake hands with people in the front row, and I just quickly reacted. You can see that photo on Instagram, and you could see the video happening. But it was my biggest takeaway from it was I wasn't prepared properly with the right camera straps, because I only had one Black Rapid strap, which at first I put on I had 2 R3s.
What made you bring 2 cameras? Because you never bring 2 cameras. Was it the whole Evan Vucci talk?
No, it's just I know that in these situations, stuff happens quick and you need to have 2 options.
You photographed Bernie without 2 cameras.
I need to figure out how to have 2. When you have all access, it's a little different. With this, it was like I didn't know how far away I was going to be, so I got the 100 to 300. Well, I don't have a strap attached to that, and what I should do is go reattach the strap to it so I can put that over my shoulder to carry it. But what I did is I attached the 300, the 1 to 3, to the Black Rapid. But when you're in the pit shooting in the buffer, you can lay them on the ground, which is much easier. That's one of the reasons I don't like 2 cameras around me, is that if I get down low, one of them is always inherently bouncing off the ground. And I don't like that.
Every time I would try and shoot concerts with a double strap, 2 cameras, one of them was always banging against something or the railing or whatever it may be, always constantly hitting something. And I just felt like it was slowing me down more than anything, wasn't really helping me out.
Yeah, so I would basically use the straps for getting cameras and lenses from point A to point B. Having a camera bag, worthless now. What I need to do is use the Think Tank Press Pass 20 that I use, and either have it around my back with accessories, maybe a lens in it, and that's it. Because that's going to be much easier to carry around.
You got to pull out the old school like photojournalist vest, just have lenses everywhere.
Almost. So a lot of people have the Think Tank pouches where they'll switch lenses. But
I've done that a few times. They're handy.
The 100 to 300 was necessary but unnecessary from where I was shooting. If I was shooting in the back, which I did a little bit, and those pictures aren't great from behind, from out in the crowd, that a 300 was amazing. No one had that. Actually, this guy Matt Rorick, he shoots for the AP. He carries 3 cameras around him all the time. One has a 400 2.8 on it. The other is a 24 to 70. The other is the 70 to 200. So he has all of those. So he has the 2 straps, and then he carries the one and puts it down with the 400 on it just in case he needs it.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, that would take some serious muscle memory, at least for me. I feel like I'd be missing more shots having so many cameras around and trying to figure out which camera to pull up next for that specific shot.
That's part of the problem. Yeah. But you have to go in there with a plan. My plan was to start with the low angle of the two senators, or the senator and the governor, walking out at the same time. And that's when I flipped the screen out to get a lower angle. I see how important it is to get down, literally put the camera on the ground, because what I did is a test from where I was sitting, like on my ass, shooting. I didn't like the level. That 2 foot difference from sitting up to putting the camera on the ground and tilting back makes such a big difference in the epicness of the subject that you're photographing. So the flip out screen still sucks, being that it's on the side. It needs to be flush with the camera. That is something I will not give up on complaining about at this point.
It reminds me of a concert experience to a certain extent, where you want to go in there with a plan, maybe look at the band's set list, check out the first 3 songs prior to shooting the concert, be prepared, maybe look up some footage taken from that tour, really see where they are the first few songs. Typically, they're energized, they're ready to go, they're up close and personal with the crowd. It's very much like that, photographing a political figure, where the first few minutes are basically rallying up the crowd, shaking hands, getting up close and personal. You want to start off wide and not with something like a 70-200.
No, I started with the 28-70 f2, which I still think needs to be replaced now with something that's slightly lighter and wider, a 24-70 f2.
28's tough, yeah.
I'm not going to go back to a 2.8. I'm not. There's just a look, and I'll bring that up in a minute, a look to my files.
And that specific photo that you're talking about, you sent me the pictures that night, and I was scrolling through them, and that picture instantly stood out to me as one of the best ones. I thought that was a really solid image, and I didn't realize how quickly it happened until you showed me the 360 footage after.
Yeah, that's what most people don't realize is like, so this is the picture where Shapiro ran over to the railing to just greet a few people, and he basically ran over me.
Yep.
You can see, just literally goes over me. He probably hits my camera. And I just reacted by picking the camera back up. I had the flip out screen. I didn't even think about flipping it back. I just tilted it a little so I could see it, held it up, tilted, smashed the button. Focus found his eye exactly what it needed to do.
It's moments like these where you need to rely on the best possible autofocus and frame rate out there.
And the quick burst.
You're doing those you're doing those insanely quick bursts. I'm surprised he doesn't trip over people when he walks by shaking hands, and he's literally stepping over you almost.
He did step over me. I'm actually going to go
Imagine
look.
if you tripped him. Ugh.
Well, I didn't. I was in my spot. I was in my spot.
Not on purpose.
Steven.
I'm just saying, what if he was obviously looking straight, shaking hands, and then happened to not see you and tripped over you?
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens. Yeah.
I worry about that stuff. So I just looked in Lightroom, and it was 39 photos from him going just that burst that I did.
Wow.
That's a second. That's a little over a second.
And I know people say, it's overkill to have 40 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 60, whatever it may be. But it's quick bursts like this that we always talk about. It's just that real quick, split second, and you're getting 20, 30 images to choose from, and you pick that perfect frame.
Not all of them were sharp. That one was sharp.
Of course.
Obviously the one I picked was the right moment, and that's where that 30 frames comes in handy. That's where the R1's 40 frames are going to come in handy. That's where the A93's 120 or 60 or wherever they set it. Now, you wouldn't have had time to flick a switch or press a button to go, holy shit, he's coming towards me, 120 frame burst.
Speed boost.
But you could set it to what you want, but that just shows you that it was just 39 frames is literally a little over a second of me just going, and that was it. That's one Mississippi done. It's like that fast.
Yeah.
And having the footage, I think, shows people how fast this stuff happens, because most people don't realize. They're like, oh, you could have done this. You could have tilted the camera more.
I bet people assume that you're like almost walking in front of him and he's following you to a certain extent, and you're taking pictures as he's walking down the rope line or something like that. But in reality, he's literally stepping over you, and you have a split second to take that image.
All I did was tilt up, and I saw my screen, so I'm using that to try and get the composition, not worrying about focus, because I just shoot. That's how this technology helps you. Anyway, it was just pretty incredible.
This is on your Instagram for people to look at, or no?
Yeah, that photo is, and the video is. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I did. I put the photo, then the video, which is, I think, what I'm going to do for the next portrait that I did with the 100-300 is show some of the 360 stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, super powerful that you get to see the whole thing happening. That's one of the most important things that you can do. Is actually see it. So the 100-300 was good for getting a tight portrait with the American flag behind Shapiro. For other stuff, it doesn't have the same look as the 8512.
Sure.
The 8512, when I switched to that, the 28-70 was worthless in the buffer.
Yeah.
I saw pictures that the other news shooters were taking, and anything wide just looks amateurish to me. And I'm not saying wide. I mean, wide from the buffer just look like snapshots with a cell phone. Wide from up in the stands where you see 1,300 people packing this facility is a different story. But the 8512 crushes. If I had full access and I was in the hold area, which is before they come out and getting candids, a 28-70 and an 85 would crush, and a 10-20, which I wish they would replace. I really think I would. Honestly, a 15-35 2.8, if I wasn't using the F2, would probably be a great option up close, because I like to be able to go wider. I like the 14-24 back in the day.
I think Sony's got the best of both worlds with the ultra wide zooms, like the 12-24, and it's a 2.8.
The 10-20 is good. The F4, there's just a weird thing that I think that the 11-24 might optically be still better from back in the day, but it's a bigger, more bulbous lens. But we're getting
but you get an extra
topic there.
Extra millimeter with the 10-20.
You do. But yeah, I mean, if I was a campaign photographer, I would probably have 10-20, 28-70 F2, 85 1.2, probably a 135 1.8. And then if needed, a 1-3 would be like packed away for special occasions. Mm-hmm. But you learn when you're out on the road doing campaign stuff, tighter is not the winner. Tight doesn't give you, it's the same thing I say all the time about the Eiffel Tower. It just doesn't tell the story enough. It could be a tight picture in every single location, but you never know where you are. You need to establish those scenes.
Do you find a lot of people using newer gear or still older gear when it comes to the actual photojournalist there?
Well, Wiener was there. Wiener's gear is super old.
Yeah, he still has a 5D4, 3.
He had a 1D series camera. It looked like, and he might have had a 5D4 possibly.
I think he had a 1DX Mark II. Did he have a 1DX? He always shot with a 5D with me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But a lot of the lens selection for some of this, like a 100-400, is not a great selection for a lens in a situation like this. But a lot of people were using it.
I saw somebody with a D700. It looked like.
There's some people that had DSLRs. Yeah. In the mirrorless world, you had some people shooting Canon mirrorless, R5s, R6s. The AP people, obviously Getty's going to be Canon, AP's going to be Sony, and really that's it. But there's also a lot of the lower tier photographers that got credentials. For the smaller publications.
Sure.
They were just letting everybody in, so it was a lot of people that take up space, in my opinion. They don't create the best stuff. They just take up space.
Yeah.
And you'll see in the video, like, everybody crouched underneath the lectern, and I went further to the right to be at a different angle. I just didn't want to, I don't want to be, if everybody's there, I don't want to be there. I want to be somewhere else. And I've seen, there's an issue, and I know we're going long on this. There's an issue with news photography today. And it's an issue with sports photography and everything else, where there's this reliance on that it needs to be out within a minute after it happens.
Yeah.
Like if a guy hits a home run, they want that picture up as soon as it happens. Well, that gives no ability for anybody to edit or tweak their files to make it look better. And I'm pretty sure like Getty, AP, and all these news agencies quickly want these photographers to just transmit and upload. Now, transmitting and uploading directly to an editor's desk that is editing the photos before they go out is a different story. That's fine. As long as someone takes a look at the image and does something with them, that's cool. But this idea that they expect the photographers on location to finish a shoot, sit down at the laptop, instantly transmit before they have a chance to edit, but then edit their stuff later to then replace the other shots. Once the news organizations upload an image or place an image on their website, they're not replacing it
out
with the edited. It's done.
No one's ever going to see the actual edit, for sure.
And so all you see from these images, and I looked them up, are flat, boring, no like tweaks done.
They need a little Skittles.
It's not even about Skittles. I mean, it is, but it's just about if I was sitting at an event right after an event, maybe give me 30 minutes. If I needed to get something out, I would quickly go through and I would pick the best 2-3 and then edit those real fast, get those out, and then get to tweaking the other files.
I used to do that exact thing with the radio station when we would do a major event or a major concert or one of our annual birthday shows. I would put out 2 or 3 instantly within the first few minutes, and then I would go back and edit the entire gallery and put that up a couple hours later.
We're on the same page, and and I know from what you were doing, other people are uploading to the gallery, and you could literally see shit, Steven's photos, shit, Steven's photos.
You then started to mix in other photographers' work, and it just would be basic JPEGs unedited from inexperienced photographers, and then thrown in with mine that were polished and edited, and it's just like night and day. And I never understood that. I'm like, just one gallery, one photographer, done.
Exactly, and I rather take a couple extra minutes. For what I do, it's not, I don't care how quickly it gets out. But for this type of thing, I took a little bit, I came back to the studio to edit. I got my stuff done within less than an hour. It was about 1,800 photos between both cameras. I go through and I cull and I pick the best of the best. I edit those 50 and I put them out into the world.
Yep.
Actually, I didn't really put them out, but I sent them to the people that matter just to take a look.
Yep.
So anyway, I hope to be shooting more of that stuff, but remember, it's from a photojournalistic standpoint that I'm sharing this information. It's not from a left, a right, a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. It's not about that. So I try to keep it as straight-laced. If there is an event that comes close to me for Trump rally, I'll apply for a credential and see how it works out.
Sure.
And take you along for that journey. Now, let's talk about me being selected in Philadelphia as the best photographer overall ever in the history of Philly.
Woohoo! Yeah! Congratulations!
But no, that wasn't the case. I wasn't deemed best photographer in Philly by Philly Magazine. A little preface here. Philly Magazine is a magazine that's been around for 50 years, or they've been doing the best of Philly for 50 years, where they point out different businesses like best camera store, best florist, best funeral home, which they probably don't do, best restaurant, things like that. And back in the day, Philly Mag meant something when you won Philly's best of.
Sure.
Because you would be selected, and then the next day you would be super busy. We're going back 20, 30, 40 years before the social media world and that. So that
different
showcased
world now.
Yep, that showcased different businesses. That's how they used to, that it used to matter. So when I got a call a few weeks prior to this, it was from a fact checker at Philly Mag who couldn't tell me what she was fact checking for. And she was just asking questions about the 4x5 and about how I'm shooting and what I'm shooting. And I thought maybe they wanted to do an article on me. So I'm like, are you going to ask for photos? Well, the editors didn't ask for photos. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of odd that I'm a photographer and you're talking about the quality of the work that I'm doing and you don't want to ask for photos. So a couple weeks after that, I guess I look up Philly Mag announces their best of, and I go and I search their site, and lo and behold, I won best large format photographer for Philly in 2024. And I'm like, my first thought is, are you kidding me? Best large. Well, one, I'm just the person that people see the most.
I wish they would have put best film photographer, not even large, just film photographer. And then you have a little plaque in the office now. Best film photographer.
Steven, I will not be getting a plaque because you would have to pay for the plaque.
But
that's a story that we'll get to in just a minute.
We will get into it.
I wasn't nominated for best large format photographer. I won best format photographer. That's large format photographer. And then you start to discover a few things. Like you get an email the day after, and the day after that you get the email, it reads, congratulations. This is me summarizing it or paraphrasing it. Congratulations on being picked as one of the best of Phillies, Philly for something. And it's like, we really, this is amazing. Now, we do offer other opportunities for you to get more visibility of the fact that you won. Now, if you'd like to reach our 260,000 strong Instagram and our 64,000 on our other, you can pay us $3,350 to run a 4-photo slideshow over a template that says Best of Philly 2024, and we share that as a story and as a reel, and you get publicity.
And it's the most basic template too. It's not customized really at all. Mine is putting your name on there.
No, so basically they want you to send them 4 photos that they'll just put into a 21-second reel. Yeah. And they think that there's value in that to the tune of $3,350.
That's insane.
So that's cash grab number 1.
I mean, obviously there's value with promoting it with their audience, but not for that.
Yeah,
kind
not
of money.
that much. Not with 200. I have 269,000 supporters or followers on Instagram, and what are you going to reach? You're going to get like some value, but not much.
And people clearly pay because I've been following them since you told me about this, and they're posting reels all the time.
I want to comment on every one of them and just be like, don't do it. And then the other thing is they hold a gala or a gala. It's a gala, whatever the hell you call it. It's a party to congratulate you on winning. You would think they would offer you 2 free tickets for you and a guest. Mm-hmm. No, it's $180 a ticket to go to this gala to rub shoulders. They think it's like, great, you get to rub shoulders with the best of Philly, but anybody can buy a ticket. And there is a corporate sponsor. So there's a corporate sponsor
that's
who
already
should
footing
be
the bill.
Right, who's paying. And then when they have like 40 restaurants that come and serve food at this thing. You think those people are probably paying for the right to come to this, or at least doing it for free and donating the food? That's bullshit. So, with all of that being said, we know that I'm not the best large format photographer in Philly. There's other people that are obviously more, that Jeff Totaro guy that I know that I talked about, who does beautiful large format 4x5 stuff. He's far superior at this. I just so happen to be the loudest. So that is why I put out this message on Instagram, and I will read it to you right now. We're also going to make a video about this to educate more, but this is going to be good. Is this thing on? Okay, here we go. I hereby decline the Best of Philadelphia 2024 award as Best Large Format Photographer. In my opinion, this is a sham award from top to bottom, where they create niche categories like Best Large Format Photographer to suck more people into thinking they are the best of something, all in the name of a cash grab. What cash grab, you may be asking? How about turning around and asking for $3,350 to share a 20-second reel with 4 photos as a slideshow on the publisher's social media? On top of that, they want to charge $180 a ticket to attend the award dinner, which has a large sponsor already. To be clear, they're not asking you to pay to be the best of something, but they are using it as a lead generator to try and make money off of that distinction. There are plenty of individuals and businesses who are worthy of the moniker Best of Philadelphia. They should be selected and applauded and not asked to pay money to promote that fact. If you want to give Best of Awards, then find a big sponsor, sponsor the awards, and give people their recognition without monetary strings attached. There were never these strings in the past. Once again, I hereby decline the award for Best Large Format Photographer. I do not want my name or brand associated with this award in any way. Jared Polin, Frono's Photo.
What a powerful press conference.
Yes, that's, I will be taking no questions.
Lots of photographers there.
Stephen, when we do the video, we have that light that does, we have lights from aperture that simulate flash bulbs.
Yeah. I mean, I was probably just going to do it in post to have a little more control, but
okay, we could do that. So that was my thing that I posted publicly, and I don't. It's just bullshit that it's a cash grab. It's a lead generator, and it's taking money. The thing of taking money from people, they don't take money in order to be nominated or selected. You're selected, you are considered best of. You don't have to pay for that. It's all of the ancillary bullshit that they use, like best florist in the rose category, followed by best florist for a tulip.
It's every single niche category. How much money can we get out of these people? Named every single specific thing best of.
Which like best donut, right? Best dessert, best appetizer, all this bullshit, so they could try to suck more people in to then try and get $3,350.
You can also put like their banner, like best of 2024, whatever it may be, on your website, and they also charge for that as well. It's not just a reel.
They don't charge for the banner, but in order to use the banner, the stipulation says you agree that they can use your name and likeness and publish you by doing so, by following their strict rules to use best of logo, which they're like, it's to protect the sanctity of this competition and the value that it brings to the community, which it doesn't carry. It doesn't carry the value that it once did. But so that's why I declined. I'm like, and I don't want you publishing my information. And yeah, if I wanted to get a window cling or a plaque or a poster, I have to pay for that in order to do it. And that brings up the point that the teachable moment here is a lot of these times where you as a photographer, wherever you are in your city, there's always these best of weddings and best local this and best local that. It's all a money grab. You think that there's value, take the award. Unlike me, take the award, but don't pay anything. Don't pay for them to promote you, to think that you're actually going to get a lot of extra value out of it. You're really not going to get that much value out of them sharing that you exist. You're better off taking that money and doing something else with it. All those competitions where, oh, you've been selected for the Library of Congress photo award, we'll publish your photo in this publication, pay us $125. Like, that's all. That doesn't get you anything. And people are always like, I was published in this publication. I'm like, you paid to do that. And that's why I also don't recommend entering photo contests where you have to pay for that.
Yep.
If I was to run a photo contest here at Frono's Photo, I would. Do you know how much money we would make if we charged $10, $15, $25 for an entry? Like, to enter one photo, it's $10. To enter two, it's $15. To enter five, it's $25. Right? Imagine doing that. And that's just not. And that's not. It's not fair to people.
I'm looking at the Best of Philly's marketing kit and all the things they charge for. You could get a custom Best of Philly plaque for $185.
Holy shit, that's how much
it
is?
An acrylic plaque. Yeah.
Great. Then you now see why I declined it. It's just a bullshit thing, and I can call it out. I don't need it.
And then the promotional assets bundle is $40, where you get one high-resolution customized award PDF and 8x10 print-ready file, a high-resolution JPEG for Facebook, and an eye-catching GIF and static JPEGs for use on your Instagram feed and stories, which literally are just these shots that say Best of Philly, and that's it.
They're charging? I didn't realize they're charging for that.
That's what I was bringing up earlier. Yeah, I thought they charged for using that. Now, you can just share the honor of being Best of Philly and putting that on your website, but if you want more of a custom one, that's when they start charging you.
Fuck you. Fuck that. So yeah, I felt like calling that out because it's just stupid. It's a money grab, and I don't like money grabs.
Agreed.
It's also why I posted a photo after that of me showing my muscles, and I said best biceps in Philadelphia 2024. I just hashtagged that. I don't know how many people got the joke, but that's what I was posting, just because it's just some bullshit like that they would do.
What was the one photo show where Samsung won like every award? Was it the Pix Awards, DP Reviews like Pix show?
It was DP Reviews, whatever they called the DP Review show.
Yeah, wasn't that Pix 2015 or something?
They did it once. So DP Review wanted to get into doing a photo conference. They did it out in Seattle where they're located. It was really, really bad. Just really, really freaking bad.
Think of a regular trade show, a regular convention, but an eighth the size of that.
It was just horrible. And it was like 3 days of garbage. Yeah. Well, their main sponsor at that event, and this is me just, since they've sold now and they're no longer Amazon, and I don't know many people working over there at this point. The way that it came across, in my opinion, is that the largest sponsor of the event was Samsung, who was trying to get into the mirrorless camera world. They ran an amazing promotion, which put lines around the corner, where if you traded in any other camera, they had a big booth where they would throw your camera into this thing where you could see the stacks of these other cameras, and they gave you the Samsung new camera for free.
Yeah.
It was insane. They were giving away that kit, which was crazy. Obviously, they ended up going out of the camera world soon after.
But they proceeded to then do like a mini award show at the end of this 3-day convention, whatever you want to call it. And Samsung basically won every single award for like best camera of the year. Me and Jared
best
were like,
innovation.
Yeah, we're like, well, I don't even know anything about this camera. How are they winning everything? No. Oh, it's sponsored by Samsung. That's why.
Right. So basically, because Samsung was so integral for helping get that event off the ground by being the main key sponsor, they ended up winning a lot of those awards.
Yep.
And I do think that that's bullshit. And I do think that that is exactly what happened, because there's no other way to slice it to be like, Samsung, best innovation. Samsung, best camera. Like, are you kidding me?
I think they've literally won every single camera award.
Are you looking it up right now?
I'm just looking up what it was called. It was called PIX, so Pix 2015. It was October 6th, 2015 in Seattle, where DP Review is located.
Well, I can't seem to find the award aspect of it. I think that it's not on their website anymore. But that award presentation was really, really stupid when we were sitting there. That was not a great event at all. Horrible, in fact. Okay, moving on. Something else that grades at my gears or grinds my gears or whatever people say
There's
is
something else? Really?
Yeah, Steven, I'm not just always happy and go lucky like you think every day. I got opinions.
Man, I never see this side of you.
Have you seen that photo from the Olympics that they're saying, unbelievable photo at the Olympics of the surfer floating?
I have.
Right? So when I first saw that image, before anybody started sending it to me to ask me for my thoughts, my take on this image, the first time I saw it, and it is like going viral and it was on the main news sites, I was like, okay, like it's a picture of a guy who's popped over a wave and he's holding up his number one. And yeah, he just won a medal. But other than that, it's just a basic shot that doesn't really have much in the way of context to show you that it's the Olympic Games. There's no Eiffel Tower behind it. And this idea that these images are like gonna live on forever, it's like this is a throwaway image at the end of the day. It's a good image. It's a good photo. I'm not downplaying the fact that it happened fast. The guy popped out, the guys were on the boat to take the photos, and they got this photo, and it's memorable. But it's not the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, because there is a lot of missing stuff that you wouldn't know that this is an Olympic photo unless someone told you it was an Olympic photo.
There's no context, yeah.
That's my take. And I just think that everybody wants to call everything iconic and amazing and it's going to live on forever. No, I don't think that most of the Olympic photos live on, because a lot of them lack context. They're just tight sports shots that are the same things that you see over and over. There's always a few that might come out. There's always a few that might stand the test of time. I just think this is fine. I don't think that this is a mind-blowing, but it goes viral, but it doesn't make it a great image. I'm reading the Petapixel article. It's like, what makes the image even more remarkable is that not only is the image incredible in a vacuum, but it also has the context and story that elevates it to new heights.
I don't think it does.
The photographer Medina, after he nailed a giant wave during the fifth heat of the third round. Oh, you could tell all of that from the context of the photo, that he nailed it on the fifth heat of the fifth round.
Yeah. When you need to read the backstory of how it all happened, then yeah, it makes sense. But you shouldn't have to read the backstory to understand that he just got a 9.9 out of 10 or whatever.
Yeah, he earned a place in the quarterfinals, putting the Brazilian sportsman in medal contention when the event resumes. Oh, so it's not even a gold medal winning thing. It just got him into the qualifying for it. So I thought that maybe he won the gold because of that. So the context isn't there. You need to read into it further. Again, not downplaying the moment that is captured. Just the fact that it's being applauded as this most incredible thing ever is just, in my opinion, not what it's fine. It's a good photo.
It's certainly a cool shot. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's a cool shot, but it's not like something amazing with the Eiffel Tower in the background, or something that says Paris Games or makes it believe that it's the Paris Games. Like, this is difficult to just get that from. It could be any surfing event at any time. That's it. Now, if it was the gold, I thought it was the gold. Even thinking it was the gold medal winning shot, I still didn't think it was that great. But it's not even the gold medal winning shot. Still a great photo, but that's about that for that one.
Have you ever gotten a floating shot of like a band member?
Oh yeah, I did.
But not just like a standard jumping shot where it looks like he's jumping, but a true looks like he's floating in midair shot.
Yeah, I have one where it literally looks like the guy is being raised by angels.
I got the same. Yeah, I got Mark Hoppus.
Oh well, that's better than mine. Mine is a guy in Papa Roach jumping, one of the guitar players.
That's cool.
And that was it.
He's basically got his hands up and it just looks like he's floating, being, risen to the heavens. But in reality, he was jumping and it was a split-second moment.
Is that on your Squarespace website, Steven?
It is, actually, yeah.
That's a deep pull from
I don't even think that's on my Instagram.
Ago. You should probably post that one day.
Yeah. I mean, but like this photo, it's a cool shot, but it's not like my greatest shot of the night, in my opinion. Like, I think I got better stuff.
Yeah. All right. So let's put that one to rest and move on to this other thing, which is another story that says photographers are being restricted during the ULA rocket launches. That is United Launch Alliance is what ULA stands for. Yeah. L Mount Alliance. Now, I have my thoughts on this, and I'm gonna I'll say this right at the beginning. I agree with the United Launch Alliance for what they are asking people, photographers, to sign, and I'm going to explain why after I read it. Did you get to read it yet, Stephen?
I did.
And do you agree or do you disagree with me?
I think I might disagree on that one.
Oh, well, you're wrong, so we're going to get to that in a second. let me read this. So basically it says, please read the following. And this goes out to photographers photographing the United Launch Alliance stuff. This is for camera placement. Now, this is just for camera placement inside of a special zone. Let's see. In order to obtain more advantageous view of the launch, United Launch Alliance LLC, ULA, is granting you permission to place cameras on the approved recording devices or equipment, collectively devices in a position inside the security area of the launch pad to which access during the launch operation is not permitted, provided that you execute this agreement prior to the launch and adhere to the following requirements.
Before you move on, how do you define the security area of the launch pad? Is that literally just the launch pad with remote cameras, or is that a mile or two out or whatever?
Oh, it's much closer to the launch pad, but it's a restricted area where you need to be escorted to the launch site.
Okay.
So we're talking hundreds of feet, couple hundred yards maybe away from the actual launch, where you set up your wireless device, your cameras to trigger off of sound and get those pictures. And then you can't go back in there until they deem that it's safe and they take you in there to get your stuff. So this is
simply just for remote cameras?
Simply just for remote cameras is how I read that.
That's what I couldn't tell. If it was only for... I just see, again, the security area of the launch pad, but I don't know how far out that goes.
Yes, that's just that. And okay, so it goes, this is the important part. I'm not going to read everything, but devices must be labeled in a way to make them easily identifiable and traceable to you. By placing a camera on the ULA property, you agree that the photos are for editorial purposes. Collecting ULA provided materials, photographs, and other written products for purposes other than editorial publication or background research is prohibited. Editorial publication includes news outlets, print, broadcast, or industry websites, and excludes personal blogs and personal social media.
Sounds like a concert release.
Well, it's very similar to a concert release, and I agree with what they're saying, because let's break it down. When you're shooting a concert, you are there shooting for someone. So you're shooting for a blog, you're shooting for a music publication, you're shooting for a newspaper, you're shooting for something. You've been approved for editorial purposes because you applied for a credential with that distinction, which means the photos that you're shooting should be used for that specific distinction, not for personal use to sell, for personal use, not for personal use to be like, I'm so amazing and let me share this. I think for social media, you should be able to share it. It's perfectly fine.
That's where I don't agree.
They're not telling you can't share it for social media.
It says it excludes personal blogs and personal social media.
Yes, personal social media.
Yeah.
But my brand, Frono's Photo, Jared Polin, I'm a brand. That's how I got approved. That's how I got approved for the past, Stephen. It's the same as saying Rolling Stone. That is getting published on Rolling Stone's Instagram.
Sure, but I'm talking specifically about the photographer's Instagram.
If it is your brand and that is how you got approved for editorial purposes, you got approved under space launch, whatever, space launch photography, that is your blog. That's editorial purposes. That's editorial use. They're saying for personal, where it's like, it's not part of your business. If it's for your business, it's fine.
I always assumed a lot of these photographers that specifically shoot these launches have their own personal handles that they post on. And then you have ones like Everyday Astronaut that they mentioned here on Petapixel, where I think it acts as both his personal and business handle, kind of like yours, Frono's Photo and Jared Polin.
Everyday Astronaut, I think, is the really big one. Everyday Astronaut is yeah, dude, this guy is an engineer, and then he started a YouTube channel that's amazing. His publication, there's how many subscribers does he have now? He's got 1.63 million subscribers, and he live streams all the launches. But he pays for the rights to live. He pays for the ability to live stream. He pays for the broadcasting ability, getting the uplinks and everything. And he makes money off of his Patreons. He makes money off of people paying when they're watching. They can give him super chats.
Yeah, so he commented about this. He posted a tweet saying, "I do not understand why ULA launch is blocking launch photographers from selling their images. This is literally how I got my start. I know so many people that are the most dedicated and hardworking people who just barely can afford to shoot these launches with the occasional sale of an image. For a multi-billion-dollar company, I just can't imagine why they'd care about someone making a few $100 to pay for gas, maybe a meal, and maybe their time to help support and share their company's work. Please reconsider this. Tory Bruno, it feels so unnecessary." I believe Tory Bruno is the CEO of ULA.
So I understand what he's saying as the everyday astronaut, that he got his start doing this. This is very similar to the music world, where you get access to something, but you still you should have an affiliation. And whether that's yourself starting a blog, which I've said a million times, you start a business around it. It doesn't cost you very much to brand it and create something. I don't agree. I agree that people are going to these events. I've met a lot of these photographers. When I went and photographed at NASA, I sold prints from NASA, which is government. So my tax dollars went to funding that launch. I'm turning around and selling those because that's not restricted. I also wasn't in the restricted area of the launch area so I don't know if there's some wiggle room where you can sell images outside the launch area, but obviously the inside ones are what's interesting. I understand that people dedicate their lives to this and they can barely get by to afford these shoots and they want to be able to sell prints. This is a business for ULA. They are launching these rockets. This is their LLC. This is that. If you are approved, you should be getting paid by a publication. You should not be selling these images personally unless you're one of those businesses. So I don't agree that personal use, I get it. I empathize with the people that love space launch photography, but it is a business and they have to restrict some things. You shouldn't be getting access if you're just an everyday person. You can show up to a launch if you want and watch it and shoot it from wherever you want to shoot it. But for special access, there's always a trade. And in the music industry, the same thing happened with the Foo Fighters and many other acts. And I refused to sign some of them. And in others, I signed them. The Foo Fighters one I signed because it's not being used it was for specific editorial purposes, not turning around and selling a Dave Grohl photo, as a poster. You don't have the rights to do that.
Yeah. I totally get the selling of images. I do agree on that. I was more concerned about the not being able to post on personal social media. But like you said, I guess most of these guys, their brand is their personal social media. So they could still technically kind of post and get around that.
That's how I read it. That is your personal social. That's your brand. Like Frono's photo is a brand. I get access to events because of my business.
I just assumed that they were shooting for a certain publication and not so much for themselves, but I guess they are shooting for themselves because there is that niche astro world of people who are very passionate about these launches, who become fans and followers of these photographers.
Yeah, so I have no problem with someone posting on their portfolio the image, and I have no problem with them sharing it on Instagram, even if it's personal, as part of their portfolio. You're just not offering it for sale. You're showing what you captured and you say shot for the publication you were shooting for. That's how you get around it. They're not going to sue you for this. If they do, they're assholes. And I don't think they're going to come after you for that. I did talk to one of the launch photographers that I've stayed with down there to get his thoughts on it. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but I'll read you what they wrote and then give you my thoughts because I did comment back. It's completely backwards, hurts the creators who have built careers doing this stuff, and hurts launch entities seeking publication of their launches for what it is, free. So basically that's saying that the United Launch Alliance people are getting free publicity. I guess it's if they didn't have a launch, you wouldn't have an opportunity to sell the images in the first place. So it's a give and take on both sides, right? If I didn't have access to a band, I wouldn't have those photos. I said, I've dealt with this in the music industry, but I'm apt to agree with the use for editorial purposes and not selling for personal use. The music industry, well, we just talked about all of that. I said, what he should do is that I would work a deal out with them directly to allow you to cover the launches and offer stuff for sale. I would reach out to the powers that be, which he said he's trying to do, to work with them to explain what he's doing.
Have an exclusive license of some sort for them?
Just not like a license, but an understanding. So to clarify a little bit that, let's see, it said, I'm trying to do that. I have those conversations and have multiple olive branches out into the direction for now, for over a month. They just don't answer. I get that too. But if they don't answer this, why would they sue you? Is another question, right? I think they're covering their ass, and I do agree wholeheartedly that if you are approved for editorial use, by all means, it's for editorial use. If you show up to a launch and you're outside of the launch area and you can get great shots and you're not restricted to selling those because you're not in the restricted area. That's what they're only asking for.
I think the biggest thing they would do would probably, send a cease and desist of some sort.
He also says, and this is getting to the other point, is having had the time to think, I think staying on the media side of things going forward is going to be a race to the bottom on every metric and be a broke fool's errand. We've seen that in the music industry. People willing to shoot for free. But we're talking like 30 years ago, maybe 30 years isn't even that long, but 30, 40, 50 years ago, music photographers could make money doing it, but it is a race to the bottom for certain things because there's so many people shooting and there's a lot of shitty photos.
So is this specific photographer that you're talking about, are they shooting for themselves or for a specific publication?
They shoot for a bunch of different publications, but also sell calendars. They sell individual signed images of their launches to people that support them and want to support what they're doing.
So he wouldn't be able to post on his own personal social media or sell any of those calendars moving forward if it was one of those remote shots.
Sort of, but hold that thought. He said, really, with other media entities and commercializers or payers in the market, I've been having those conversations for a year and change. They're just a continuing narrowing supply of opportunity on the side of this coin, literally and figuratively. So to be able to do more of what I'm good at and earn a reasonable income, starting to look for jobs with companies with similar roles or multifunctional roles, social media manager, content creator, internal communications, etc. And so it says the newness, at least in our field with launch coverage, is the limits to be able to commercialize your work. And he says journalists can use paywalls and membership subscriptions to augment their words, but photographers are being nixed for those privileges for their work for no apparent reason and with virtually no communication. There's money in it to be made. Really, it's the imposition on being able to generate it that is the BS. He needs to reframe his thinking here. Journalists having Substacks and Patreons is no different than if you start a publication that has a paywall.
Sure.
Or you say for $5 a month, you'll get access to this, or $100 a month, you get a print. There's ways to work around it. That is for editorial purposes and for continuing your editorial purposes. Getty Images, AP Images, offer, if you go to their website, you could click on any photo and offer to buy that photo for personal use. As a print, you can do that.
$500.
Well, whatever it is, but newspapers that are local will offer to sell you the image. Even back in the day, would offer to sell a print.
I think the difference is that it's not so much the norm in the photographic community. Everything's always expected to be kind of free, especially if it's posted online when it comes to photos, where the journalism side of things, the print side of things is more behind a paywall, and that's kind of accepted.
So I don't pay for any publication behind a paywall when it comes to news.
I don't personally either, but there's like the Philly Inquirer, for example. Online, you have to pay to read.
And I don't read it because of that.
Yeah.
Right. If I can't, I think the best, if you're going to pay for anything, it's Apple News is the best to pay for.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you think people would actually pay to see his exclusive content from one of these launches?
I think some people would, but what you do is you do it. There's I'm
just trying to be realistic. That's all.
But what Everyday Astronaut does is he films these or shows live streams these and talks hours and hours of live streams, and people are paying $10, $20, $100 if they want. They do super chats, and then there's you could be part of his Patreon. You can get access to it. So he's not really putting too much behind the paywall, but people want to support what he's doing.
Donate,
you have to find the way to be successful. And if that means creating your own thing, which he has, this person that I'm talking to,
he has
created his own thing.
Okay.
He has a following based off of this. Mm-hmm. They're not, it doesn't sound like they're restricting your ability to get approval to photograph a launch. They're restricting the ability to sell images from inside the remote zone by the launch pad.
And again, I do question how far that remote zone, what is the actual proximity?
That's only the area where they allow you to put the remote cameras. The areas outside of that are a different story, at least to me. And you can get close to a launch without being inside of the launch facility. Cape Canaveral, you can watch from the side of the road.
And then in terms of people profiting off these launches, do they tend to profit more off the remote camera launch photos or more from the far away?
Remote 100% because they're unique and cool. Now, with all of this being said, is he in the right mindset to say that maybe this side of the media doesn't make any sense and that working inside makes more sense? And the answer to that is 100% yes. Like we've seen it with John Krause. He's a photographer. He was that young 16, 17 at the time photographer. I actually sent him a 70-200 Nikon back in the day who shoots a lot of the launches, he decided not to go to college because he knew what he wanted to pursue. He got a job with, there's this billionaire named Jared. It's not me. He made his money in credit card processing and stuff. He has his own space launch company, and John is like head of content creation, head of marketing, the content. So he travels and he shoots these launches, every launch still, but he has an outlet for it. Yeah. He is on payroll in a specific position. And I think that is what you need to focus on and where you need to look, because we know that in baseball photography, you're not going to get a credential as a normal person to shoot Major League Baseball. You're just not. And if you did have a credential, you couldn't turn around and sell those personally to fans. But if you had a publication that you got access to, you could share those images on your Instagram. You could share those images. You could have a publication where people pay to see the publication, and that's how you generate the revenue. I don't think they're doing anything that is out of the ordinary here. I just don't. I think you need to frame it from the mind of they're a business, and if they're going to approve people, they want to make sure that it's not for personal use, just flat out personal use. Get in with a publication. Start your own damn publication. Literally, all you need to do is start a Squarespace website. Squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto.
Yeah, it's that easy.
You need to do it. You need to just start your own thing. You can go shoot launches without having access. You can apply for credentials, and they give them to almost everybody. And you can start writing and doing stuff and making money. It's not easy. And that brings up a final, because it leads into this personal brand thing. I think if you've been on the internet in the last 15 years, you've heard of the name Gary Vaynerchuk.
Who?
Gary Vaynerchuk. If you haven't...
knows photo.
Yeah, that's where I borrowed it from. We know that. I've said it a billion times. Gary Vaynerchuk is a social media expert, built his dad's wine business, liquor store business from, say, 3 million to 60 million, all by using early Google ads back in the day when it was cheap, used social media to blow up on Twitter, to make YouTube videos, and then transfer to this thing called Vidler. So he's got a lot of things to say. Came out with a book called Crush It back in the day, which was how to win on social media. Had a book deal to produce other books like Jab, 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 Right Hook, and then Crushed It, which is like saying that you did. And I'm in Crushed It they featured me in there as someone who got inspiration from Gary and learned and created my own thing.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of tired of seeing these videos and Gary talking about, look, let me preface this with, there is a lot to glean from Gary in certain situations. There's motivational things that help. There's actual functional things that work. Back in the day, he said, watch what I do. And the things that I do more often are the things that are obviously working. And the things that I've tested that don't work, we don't do anymore. That stuff makes sense. But if anybody's been following along, he grew his YouTube to say 4.3, 4.5 million followers, was getting great viewership on his YouTube videos. And now he's getting 3,000, 4,000, 8,000 views per YouTube video because he killed his channel. He killed his channel by not following his number one rule of social media, which he did for one of his other books that came out in the past, which was, if you have a piece of content, you don't post the same thing on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook video, YouTube that you do on each of those things. Each one you do differently. You interact differently with each community. He broke that rule. All he does is put out sound clip and sound bite and cuts from videos from podcasts over and over, and it's oversaturating himself in the market. And he killed his YouTube channel because of that. He turns people off because it's the same bullshit. After 4 months of watching the content, you're like, there's
everything.
nothing else to get out of this. I bring this up because his latest book, which I don't even know what it's called, he has a new buzzword for what he's talking about. He's using the buzzword organic social. And you're like, what does organic social mean for a brand? He's saying that in order to win as a brand, you need to focus on organic social, which isn't paid promotion, which isn't just making the same shitty old just basic posts. Organic social is literally just making good content and putting it out into the world. I do organic social.
Crazy how that works.
Right. Organic social, this buzzword term, is nothing other than just being real with your audience and talking and engaging with your audience and making content that's real versus just like a big brand, say like Dyson, is going to put out videos that are basically commercials on their Instagram. That's how they use their social media, for commercial purposes. Instead of having like a personality that interacts, they interact. They build up a brand. You win on organic. We've won on putting out content that people want and interacting differently on Instagram than I do on making a podcast and YouTube. We're not going to sit there and just cut up a podcast and put it up on YouTube because it doesn't play well there. And it just oversaturates the market. The moral of the story is, if you have 100 dedicated followers, 200 dedicated followers, 500 dedicated followers, 1,000 followers that you built organically that watch because of you, that in essence is organic social. But his whole thing in the past has always been paid advertising, buying promotion on Facebook, which isn't a problem. It does work when you're trying to get your information in front of somebody. But if you build up organically and you have like an MKBHD doesn't need on, Marquez Brownlee on YouTube doesn't need to pay for any reach because he has such goodwill and organic reach every time he puts a piece of content out. He doesn't do the same thing on YouTube that he does on Twitter or on Instagram. He's interacting differently in those platforms, and that benefits him. He's built an organic reach and an organic brand. There's no secret there. I just bring this up because I just think he ruined his video, his reach by just overdoing and not following his own rules.
We've said it for years. Organic growth is the best, not paying to play with promotional ads to gain a following. I mean, that's how you built Frono's Photo from the ground up.
Slowly and steadily.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race.
Picking up a fan here and there, interacting with those fans, because I always said it, if you interact with a fan, they become friends, and that means they're going to be there for life.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the beginning where, you might only have 4 or 5, 1 person commenting on a video, but you made sure to take that extra time to comment back and make a little community for yourself. And we try to continue that today with something like the text line and something like this podcast, where we're a little more personal. It's more about the behind the scenes of the Frono's Photo brand and our lives. And, we try to invite you in and make you part of our little family.
Right. And when you feel like you're part of the family, you're going to thank. As part of the Gary's old jab, 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 right hook. The mentality behind that book was that you give, then ask. You give so much value that when you do ask for something, people are not shocked and they're more likely to say yes. You've seen it a million times. Somebody I had people come to the boot camp that are like, I don't really need the boot camp, but I've gotten so much value out of what you've done. I want to support you.
Give back.
Or I want to buy your video guide or your presets to support you. It's the same thing with you buying a PDF from a lawn care guy that you've learned from.
Oh, yeah. I've done it several times.
You want to support them.
I don't need that information because I'm the best lawn guy around. But
I've seen your lawn, man. The best lines ever. The funniest was when we went to the Phillies game, sat in the outfield, and I said, Steven, do you notice that? There's a bad line out there. And you're like, yep, noticed that already.
I think I said, I've seen better.
Yeah, because the grass wasn't looking particularly good that day. But that all ties back into the space launch stuff or the music stuff or the sports stuff. It's no different in all of those industries that you can't just go shoot personally the major leagues. And I consider those space launches the major leagues. You can shoot the minor leagues. You can work your way up.
And at the end of the day, it's a grind. It's not easy. You can't expect to build up a following overnight. It takes a lot of time. Like we said, slow and steady wins that race.
And I do think that the person I was talking about the space launches is that I was communicating with is on the right path, that it would be more beneficial to them to have a inside job, but also still being able to maintain some of that personal brand as well.
Yeah.
Because through that, you can utilize your reach. If your reach is bigger than the brand that you're going to work for or work with, you can still utilize that to build your personal reach within reason, with not sharing proprietary stuff, but still sharing stuff out into the world. You're not going to make a living just selling a print here and there. You're just not. And so they're not taking away your ability to make a living. If you're making a living at it already, you've done what Everyday Astronaut Guy has done. You've built a business and a brand behind it, and you've taken free and turned it into paying.
I would assume most of those guys that photograph these launches have daytime jobs, full-time gigs, and this is kind of on the side, or no?
Some of them do, but some of them struggle to basically freelance, and they're all fighting for the same small pie by like, I'm shooting for space launch like space launch bullshit, or I'm shooting for this organization, or I'm shooting there, or hoping to sell for the cover of a publication. That's all it is. Like, they're freelancers. But that's the freelance game.
It is.
That's why freelancing is not the easiest game in the world. And so, again, I'm not sitting here just trying to defend the United Launch Alliance or the Foo Fighters or any of the companies or Major League Baseball that's cutting out the ability, all the sports did, but for everyday people to just get access. You need to build something. I don't care. Buy a website, Space Launch Photography Explorer, right? And turn that into the thing. That is an entity. Yes, it could be for your personal growth, but it has a business wrapped around it. And that way you are abiding by you're not selling for personal use. You're selling to keep your editorial brand moving. It's no different than selling advertising in a publication that also is getting access to those images. No different than Getty selling those images. So it's just how you frame it in your mind and how you what you decide to do with it. You could cry about it, or you could find a way to be successful with it. And we've found a way to be successful with it. Other people continue to find ways to be successful with it. That John Krause found a way to get in with someone who started a company, and through the work that he was already doing, was able to be like, this makes more sense for me to work internally and get extra access. He's in fighter jets flying with these guys during practice missions. So it's just like, he's got the access, and he's found a way to make it a success. That's it, man. That's all I got to say about everything today.
Quite a show.
That's a good show. That's a good show, Steven.
Solid, yeah.
I think that's a solid piece of content. So for that, we're going to chop everything up and post the same thing on every single thing on the Tickety Talk. Which I might send these I might send this.
You're like, actually, I might do that.
So that's it, guys. That's episode number 112 of RAWtalk. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin for NosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.